This is the second video about the campaign for safer cycling and walking to and from northwest Cambridge. This video is the longest of our 5 and it focuses on the most pressing safety need, which is at the junction of the new Eddington Avenue with Huntingdon Road here. Just to remind you, the northwest Cambridge development is going to be called Eddington and its nearest neighbouring communities are in Girton. At the centre of the Eddington development is a primary school that has already opened, and so there is already demand to cross Huntingdon Road between Girton and the primary school, and this demand will only increase with time. Astonishingly, the plans for the site and for Eddington Avenue, Huntingdon Road Junction, provide no crossings at all of Huntingdon Road, either at Eddington Junction or at the Eddington Junction or anywhere for several hundred metres further up. So there's a problem with the demand for crossing Huntingdon Road safely. Here in detail is what we call the November 2015 plan. This is what's being built right now. It shows the junction of Eddington Avenue with Huntingdon Road, which will be a great big traffic light junction, but amazingly, the traffic lights will not include any integrated crossings for pedestrians or cyclists across Huntingdon Road, only a pedestrian crossing in 2 stages across Eddington Avenue. In this video, in the first half, we'll make 4 main points: that the demand assumptions underlying this design are known to be wrong, and so this safety audit needs to be repeated. Secondly, this design does not make satisfactory provision for walking and cycling coming from and going to the north in the direction of South Girton Village. Third, the design is inconsistent with the strategy for the northwest Cambridge development and with the policies of the local councils. And fourth, there was actually a recommendation in the safety audit that there should be an integrated two-cone crossing here, and this was cut out for reasons that I believe were spurious. In the second half of this video, we're going to propose modifications to the design of this junction. So first, the design was based on incorrect assumptions. When the safety audit for this transport feature was conducted, it was assumed that the demand for the school, shown here by the circle, was going to be internal to the northwest Cambridge site. Therefore, crossing demand to the north was not anticipated to be significant. But in fact, the university decided to open the school early. It is open now, and there is significant demand to the north. In particular, of the 111 pupils currently at the school, 40 live in Girton Village. And we anticipate that in the next 2 years, if you just take that fraction and scale it up for another 2 years of intake, you will have 105 children all living in Girton, crossing Huntingdon Road every school day. Moreover, the Eddington development is going to have many other features. There will be a new nursery, which surely will attract toddlers from Girton as well. And there are going to be new shops and other recreation facilities here, which will be attractive to Girton residents. So the demand to cross Huntingdon Road onto this site is going to increase. I think it's inevitable that if the design that has been given here is built, there will be black spots at the Eddington Avenue junction, at Thornton Road, and as we'll say in a separate video, at this Girton Road junction as well. If you do the numbers and just focus on the Girton resident pupils who will be crossing this road, the number of crossings by a child that will happen in the next 7 years works out to over 250,000 crossings. And then if you add adults, we're clearly talking about 1 million or so new crossings of Huntingdon Road in the next 7 years. Our second point is that this design does not make satisfactory provision for walking and cycling. When we say this, obviously we need to define what we mean by satisfactory, and I suggest this definition. First, we need to look after the needs of all users, not just experienced cyclists and adult pedestrians, but you need to consider a small family unit that might have a pushchair, an adult, and 1 or more young children, perhaps tired and with poor road sense at the beginning or end of the day. When we talk about cyclists, some cyclists may be 4 or 5 or 6-year-olds. They might be accompanied by a parent who wants to go along with them. So we have to have a cycling route that is satisfactory for the combination of a young person on a bike and an adult who is accompanying them. In my view, a satisfactory cycle route must not require the cyclist to dismount from their vehicle and push it along a pavement or across a road. If there is such a requirement, then it's not satisfactory. A satisfactory route also should not require a cyclist to break the highway code, and particularly for pedestrians, we think that routes should be attractive, direct, and safe if we view them as satisfactory. A route that is not direct is not satisfactory. And sadly, it needs emphasizing that people do actually travel in two directions. So the existence of a satisfactory cycle route in, say, an inbound direction does not imply that you can cycle safely in both directions. We need cycle and pedestrian routes to be safe for both directions of the desired journey. Okay, I hope this definition of satisfactory is satisfactory to you, the viewer. Let's look at the plan that is being built right now in more details. Here's the scale. There's a distance of 160 metres from the Thornton Road turning to the centre of the Eddington Avenue junction. A further 110 metres down towards Cambridge city centre, a new toucan crossing is going to be built in order to create a new link between this site here through to Huntingdon Road and to a new development called Darwin Green. That demand doesn't exist at the moment because Darwin Green is not built and the cycle path to Huntingdon Road has sadly not been completed. So this is perhaps a rather redundant feature for the next few years, but that is the only additional crossing that is being made with traffic light protection for pedestrians and cyclists across Huntingdon Road in this area, and it's extremely close to an existing two-stage toucan crossing that already is there just 110 metres away at Lawrence Weaver Road. What's wrong with this design is as follows. First, let's look at the physical features of the pavement and the on-road cycle path. The cycle path has a pinch point. It's visualized in these photographs. You can see it from the north here, and this is the view from the southeast, looking at the same pinch point, which runs for a distance of several tens of meters. And this is the view when a vehicle comes along. And you can imagine trying to cycle on the road there, where the desire of the driver is shown by this red line. This is the route they would naturally follow, and it goes well onto the cycle path here and possibly even clips the pavement also. Because what's happening is the road, which used to be 2.5 lanes wide, has been widened to about 3.5 lanes width in the Eddington Avenue direction here. Then it re-narrows back down to 2.5 lanes wide, and then it widens again to 3 lanes wide, because here for quite a while Huntingdon Road has been 3 lanes wide with a central lane allowing right turns into the petrol station and into Thornton Road. So this is a severe concern for on-road cycling. Here's the desire line again, coming and going. The driver coming northwest will want to go naturally along a fairly straight line from the place where the road is wide to the place where it is wide again, and they will therefore have a natural inclination to clip the on-road cycle path. This pinch point issue was already flagged by officers at the City Council in December 2011, yet nothing seems to have been done. Here's the view from the southeast, from perhaps the top of a double-decker bus, showing the same desire line and making clearer the immensity of these kinks and wiggles in the curb and the cycle lane. So, what's wrong with this plan? First, there's a terrible pinch point in the cycle path. It's very likely to be a new black spot for cyclists on the road. Next, the pavement for pedestrians is also unusually narrow, and you can see the view from the southeast here, looking at a couple of pinch points on the pavement where it's pretty tricky for a small family to get by. And when you include other users on the path, it's pretty much impossible for people to pass each other without having to stop and perhaps step into the road. Here you have a family of 3 on bicycles trying to make their way along. This is the view from the northwest of the same narrow pavement. Moreover, one day every week, this footpath is further narrowed by wheelie bins. These cycle and pedestrian pinch point problems can be solved by a simple purchase of a strip of land about 1.3 to 2.6 metres wide along here. It could all be straightened out, and almost all of this land is owned by a single landowner who we know is happy to make a deal to sell that strip. So what does this junction design that's being built right now expect people to do? Well, I'm going to think about pedestrians and cyclists, and I'm going to think about the inbound and outbound journeys. So let's take pedestrians first. What are they expected to do? Instead of following their desire line, which is shown in magenta, here or here, for going to and from Thornton Road, pedestrians are expected to do something like this blue line, for example, to walk an extra 200 meters or so down to the new Toucan crossing and then do a hairpin bend and come back. This is not a direct walking route. An alternative would be to take this blue line and have a little jink up to a dilapidated pedestrian crossing with no traffic light protection and then walk along the narrow pavement. This is not satisfactory because it doesn't have traffic light protection for the crossing of this major road. Another thing to notice about this hairpin route, which does have traffic light protection, is that it will involve, no doubt, small children on the way to school seeing friends across the road on the other side. And 4-year-olds do not have good road sense, all of them. Some of them are wild animals, and when they see a friend across the road, they will run across the road to go and meet their friend. We've seen this happen already, thankfully without any accident yet, but that's just in 5 weeks of the school being open. So I've talked through the pedestrian routes, and I've made the case, I think, that there's not a safe, attractive and direct route for pedestrians in either direction. As for cyclists, there is an inbound route from Thornton Way to Eddington, which could be viewed as satisfactory. It's not high quality, but it is reasonably safe. Namely, you cycle up Thornton Road, make a left turn, go along the new cycle path, and then at the traffic lights cross and return on the shared use cycle path on the left hand side and go into Eddington. That is a reasonably safe route. It's got traffic light protection. But what about getting back on your bike if you are a 4-year-old accompanied by a parent? What are you expected to do? Well, if you were to reverse that route, it might be legal to go on this shared use cycle path back round the hairpin as far as here, but then you would be illegally cycling on a pavement all the way along this 270 metre distance to Thornton Road, and then you wouldn't have any safe and legal way to continue your journey into Thornton Road either. You would have, to be compliant with the highway code, you would have to dismount and push your vehicle for about 270 metres. So that's not a satisfactory return route. What are you expected to do? Well, you're expected to take the on-road cycle path along here and make a right turn across the busy road with no traffic light protection. That is clearly unsafe for a young child on a bicycle with accompanied by a parent because of not only the pinch point but the lack of traffic light protection here. So yes, there may be an inbound route, but there is not a return route from Eddington to Thornton Way that is satisfactory. So out of these 4 journeys I've just considered, 3 of the 4 do not have a safe, attractive and direct solution. In the 3rd video, we're going to discuss similarly what provision exists in the plans for people travelling up Girton Road, and we'll see there are similar problems both for pedestrians and again for cyclists.